Hello everybody, it's Cree Rama and I am here today. I'm doing things a little different here. I haven't gone through decorating pages for a journal, so I wanted to kind of show a bit of my process when I'm working on my ocean sea themed journals. So I wanted to show you, I've got these two books, and as you can see they're pretty large and they just have some really cool images in here. So I grabbed some of these. Ooh, this is pretty, isn't it? For ocean. So I grabbed, I think, two of these pages, and then I found this, another fantastic book that I got at, I want to say this was $1, and it's a very thick book, lots of great images. So I grabbed quite a few from here, and you can see they are square pages. So that's kind of what I'm not going through putting the signatures together yet. I just wanted to do a couple of things to show how can you work with these pages. So this is a sheet of paper, so you can see, you know, they stick up, so it's not the same size. Now you can always just do a simple fold up, you know, and it could be a little pocket. Those things are very simple and easy, but I'm just going to show a couple of ideas, things that I did for my sea journal. Here you can see this is 2 pages from the book that I just showed. And so what I did was, so this is 1 page, and you can see it's folded not quite in half. It's a little shorter on this side, and I created a pocket here. And then I lined this with some book pages. I did sewing all around, and it's the same exact thing on the other side. So for this, I did this page. Here's one I absolutely loved, this image. So this is another one. I did the same thing. I can grab like a little something. So we've got pocket, big pocket here, and we have a big pocket here. Another one, pocket here, pocket here. So I will show you how I did these. And then I have this fabric that has like coral reef on it. So I wanted to use this on something. So I grabbed a piece of my, this is cardstock, that it's tea dyed, but I don't know what I did. It was just in my stock of dyed papers. It's got a little more color on it, but I made this little pocket here, added the lace, and I made a larger pocket here and did sewing around it. So we'll go over that. Of course, I sew, but you don't have to sew this. You know, can easily do, you can use the double-sided sticky tape adhesive if you get the permanent adhesive, and I would probably add a bit of glue on top of it just to make sure it sticks, or just fabric glue, your 3-in-1 glue. So that's another idea. And then I have this corrugated cardboard. This is a Papa John's box. And when I'm dyeing papers, I sandwich my papers between some cardboard or sometimes some watercolor paper. So this was in some of my dyed papers. So, and I thought it was kind of cool. So I actually did a couple of things here. I went over this with some frosted crystal embossing glaze stuff powder, and then I used some distress crayons on top of that, and then there's this netting that comes like a spool of ribbon. It's green, but I painted mine white, and then I put this fish on top, and I also embossed this fish, so it feels really cool. I don't know if you can see the shine. I'm kind of running out of light right now. And I have one on here. I did the same thing. I embossed this little crab guy. And this is some paper, if you can see the shimmer. I coffee dyed. I added some mica powder to this paper. You know, those who know me know I love playing around with different mediums and making papers. Love it, love it. And these papers, I love the way this turned out. So anyway, we've got our little pocket here, and I did a very messy sewing there, and I also did sew it to the page. And then when we open it up, this is from a printable that was kind of left over from, I think this is Miles from the Moon, or Miles Over the Moon. I will put the links to all of the printables that I'm using in my ocean journals. I'm gonna put them in the video description. But I just turned this into a little flip, so we've got, you know, extra writing space there. We've got some nice little vintage lace. And that's it. I didn't want to cover this up. I just think this page is so pretty. So I left that as is. But I do have this other pocket to put on something if I want. And then I've got a music page. So these are from the Digital Collage Club I'm a member of. But I just put something here to do a little tuck. This is my ribbon that I made out of paper towels, and I have to say I love using these because they also take to glue really, really well. So you know, sometimes when you're using fabric glue, you've got to really like wait, and it's gooey and it's like seeps through everything. This is just great. I just use my regular my Art Glitter Glue is the brand of glue that I like, and I just use that immediately, just adheres to it. And then on the inside here, I've been doing these little clusters because I like these. They're so bright and colorful. So these are pockets here, and I just made these clusters. I did messy sewing here. And again, I show you how I did, you know, all of this, the process. And then on the back here, this is another pocket. So that's another page. Go in and do some other things, but I'm just showing you the kind of constructing the page, and then I put them together into the signatures, and then I'll go through and add more stuff. That's usually what I do. So we've got a large side pocket here. And then here, I just sewed these pages together, and this was actually a mistake. I grabbed the wrong hole punch, but I just put some of that netting in there. And then here, I just have a little pocket down here. Let's see what else we have. So this is another one. I don't show this on the video, but it is the same thing. I have a couple of these journals that I'm doing, at least 2 of these journals. So I'm kind of, you know, going through and making goodies for all of them. This is a page from the first book, and they're so large that, okay, so this is folded, you know, folded this way page, and then I folded it this way to fit into my book, And you've got pocket here and pocket here. And then here, just playing around, and I just put gesso on an image. Wanted to see what it did, what it, you can also, like, if you want to write on here, or if there's somebody who likes to do a little bit of art journaling, they probably would appreciate a couple of pages with some gesso. And then lastly, what I show you are, I do these, and I'll show you 2 of them here. So these are envelopes, and I do that same little cluster where I put a little piece of dictionary page or vocabulary word thing, and then a little, you know, add some little clusters of things here, elements, and do messy sewing around there. And at my sewing machine, I had all these little threads, and I was looking at, you know, the octopus here, and I thought, oh, let me just throw that on top of there. So that's what I did. So what I do with these, I mean, you can use it as is, maybe put a little clip and put some goodies in there, or a couple nice writing pages or something, some papers. But this is another idea where you just kind of have a little flip. So this is a page. This isn't decorated yet, of course. I'll you know, finish all that once it's in the signatures. And then you open it this way. So then see here, you've got your cluster, and it's a little tuck. And I have a couple of those that I did. So here's another one. You can see here's the cluster with the threads on there that I left. And then tuck here. And this is one of my, an envelope that I dyed when I was doing eco dyeing. And then this is the last one. And this is actually a copy of one of my papers when I was playing around with tea dyeing and different sprays, and I just really liked the colors. So that is what I'm going to show you today. And I think that is enough for a video. So I just wanted to show you how I did some of the pages here. I know when people start making journals, it's like just overwhelming thinking of how do you even start? So I thought, let me try to organize myself to get a video out and maybe inspire people, make it a little easier to just get in there and start exploring and creating. And that's pretty much what you have to do. You just have to jump in and just start. So I'm going to start with the process now, and I will go through in the order that I showed you here. Notification bell if you want to see when I have new content come out. And thank you all for watching. I'll go through the process now. So I'm starting off here with the square images from the book that I showed you. And you can see how I folded them, that they're not directly folded down the center. So here I am using this book page because I want to kind of cover up the print that is showing from the pocket. And if you do inking like I do, just make sure that you go around and you ink all of your page, because there's nothing worse than gluing pages together and then you realize you forgot to ink. But it happens. So here I'm just using my hole punch to do a little notch out there. of my pocket. And the other thing is when I attach these two pages together, I don't glue one on top of the other one. I actually, because if you've ever done that before, it's hard to get the page to lay flat where the seam is, and it'll kind of bunch up in areas. So one of the pages is flat, the other page I cut it in half and I glue it onto the other page. And that way you don't have that bulkiness in the center when you're trying to, make your fold. And also these pages, the book pages that I'm using to cover up that little space in behind the pocket, those are from my rust video that I just did. I really loved the way those papers turned out. So here you can see this is where I'm cutting one of the papers, one of the images, I'm cutting it in half where the fold is going to be. I just cut it in half and now I'm going to glue those two pieces onto the other one. And now just gluing down the other part and I've got my page. So I do go around and I do sewing on this, but you certainly don't have to. This is good to go as is. And here is the second page that I was showing you. This is the cardstock. This is a lightweight cardstock. I'm not sure what the weight is, but it's not heavy. And again, as always, doing all the inking and the seam around all of the edges. And then just kind of figuring out which direction I want to put my image here, put my fabric. And if you don't have fabric that you want to use, you can always just add a little bit of lace to your paper pockets or anything just to add a little bit of interest and some different texture. And I like using the double-sided sticky tape. It is a permanent tape that I use. And I usually do go over it with my sewing machine. I haven't tested it out to see how well it holds up, otherwise without sewing, but I would definitely just use a little bit of glue in addition to it. And that is if you're not going to use your sewing machine. So here I'm just showing the one pocket, and I decided to put lace going down the edges just so that it kind of sticks out, add a little interest there. And I actually do that on both sides of the page. And for this pocket, I decided to do a corner pocket. And you can see I cut it, but then I realized I want to cut it a little bit more. So it's always okay to take a little extra off, but you can't go the other direction, right? And here I just put the lace on. I don't show, you know, the sewing machine or anything, but I just put it on exactly the same way. And now I'm moving on to my music page. So you can see this was a really large page. So it's actually folded in thirds, and then I also flip the bottom part up so that it fits my signatures. I wanted to put something underneath on this page so that it kind of pokes out from, you can see there the little pocket. But I wasn't happy with the color. It wasn't as bright that I wanted it to be, so I do end up putting a piece of paper behind there that is a little more colorful. And here you can see I was just using a sheet of paper to kind of, that was my measurement to see where to fold up on the bottom. So now I have the size of a paper. Now this is kind of the same thing. When you fold, when you have a lot of paper there at the seam, it tends to bunch up and do weird things. So I'm just cutting a little piece of it out so that my pocket will lay flat. And now these are the pockets that I add the clusters to. And this is where I bring in a piece of paper, just a piece of scrap paper, and I glue it behind that pocket opening. And I'm just marking it with a pencil so I make sure that I glue my paper down in the correct spot. And these are the printables from the Digital Collage Club, and this is that little tuck that I just add there um, on the front page. And now I'm just cutting up those little images that I use for my clusters. And this is going to be my flip up page. And I start gluing on my pieces for my clusters, but you can see the pocket still flips down. I don't glue the pocket actually on yet because I want to go around and do some messy sewing to hold all these things down. And here I'm kind of just marking where to put my glue. And here I wanted the under the C, I wanted that to pop a little bit, so I just took a little piece from this book page, and I like this better. I got a little bit of red popping from behind it. And then I think this is Salvaged Patina is the color that I'm using behind there, just to add a little bit of color. Now moving on to this fun paper that I used my mica powders on. And here is the corrugated cardboard that I'm using. And just kind of glue this little flap down. And then I'm starting with the Frosted Crystal embossing powder. I didn't even know at the time what I was going to do with this. I'm just kind of playing around a little bit, and I thought I might as well do another little piece here. So I'm adding some to the top of this piece. And one thing, I was watching a video about this, that the melting point is lower than embossing powder. So you don't have to heat it that much. And as soon as you see the colors start to change, watching Tim Holtz in his video, he said that's enough, no more heat. Because what it does is it adds just a little bit of grit to your project more than like a shine. If you continue to heat it, then it will melt too far and it does end up being shiny. So here you can see now that I added that little bit of grit, and it's sort of like a sealant also. And then I'm just going in and playing around with my distress crayons. I thought this looked kind of dark, so I'm trying to add a little bit of gold just to give it a little bit of shimmer and lighten it up a bit, but then I figured I'm probably going to put an image on it, so don't worry about it so much. So these are images that I have left over from my Gracie and Tracy Designs printables that I used to make the tags for my journals. So I'm just kind of looking through to see, well, what do I want to use on this pocket? And then I grab a little bit of that netting to go behind my fish. So now I'm back from my sewing machine. You can see I did some messy sewing around that pocket. And I did go over that with some embossing powder as well. And for this page, I just made a hinge for the flip up. And now moving on to the other page that I'm going to show you here where I do my envelopes. So after I figured out where I wanted to put my envelope, then I kind of knew which direction to put my things to alter my envelope to make it a little tuck pocket. And I cut up a whole bunch of images so I can just have them right there ready for me to work on my clusters. The hardest part of these clusters is knowing where to put your glue, so I was kind of just holding it in one spot and then gluing it down because I do go over with my sewing machine, so I'm not very worried about getting it perfectly on there. Okay, I'm doing a timeout here. I wanted to show you a little trick. If you don't know, this is kind of useful to know when you're tearing a page. So I just grabbed this, grabbed this piece of, these are popsicles that I'm absolutely addicted to. But I wanted to show you something. So when you're gonna tear the page, okay, so you're either gonna go back or you're gonna come forward. If you go back this way, coming towards you, you're not going to have any of that. See here, you've got like the underneath part. If you don't want that, and a lot of times when you're inking, it inks weird. So I don't like that part. So when I'm tearing, I always do it this way. All right, so just so you know that. So the part that comes towards you is not going to have that extra stuff. Okay, that's all, just a little trick. I saw myself doing the tearing the vocab words and thought I would add that in. It's a good little trick to know. So yeah, that's my last, I'm adding a vocab word there, and my little cluster is finished. And I had this shell sitting on my desk, so I thought I'm going to just add that in the corner and make it a little tuck for something. And you can see I just went over my cluster, and this is one of the ones that added those threads to. I just thought it was kind of fun. And now I'm going to slide the envelope on the end of the page here, and I'm going to glue it down. And since this does open up on the other side, you do want to go along the seam on the side that's going to be glued down just to hold it in place. My next video will be putting the signatures together for my Under the Sea journals. Thanks for watching.